I was such a chubby kid growing up. I mean, there were like 10 reasons why, but marshmallows are 12 of those reasons. So fractured. So, as many of you guys may know, or not know, I went to Arkansas this Christmas, for Christmas, to visit my boyfriend's family. My boyfriend has a sister who is now my sister because I don't care. Claiming that bitch. She's mine now. Sis cakes. I'll link her down below. We do this thing where we bond over really sinister, crazy, dark movies. I told her how much I love Midsummer. She loved Midsummer. We talked about it. If you guys haven't seen my review of Midsummer, go check it out, or don't. You don't have to. It's honestly... This is just a very long-winded way of telling you guys. She told me to watch Fractured, and I was like, toads. And this is probably gonna be the shortest movie review I've done. I'm gonna spoil it for you. So if you guys haven't watched the movie, I honestly recommend you guys please go watch that movie, because I'm gonna spoil the F out of it for you. What's over here? I thought I saw something. I'm gonna spoil it for you, and I'm gonna miss a lot of parts. Here's the thing, I'm not a movie review channel. I just really like talking about movies, and that's what's gonna happen. So the movie starts out with, they are driving back from the Thanksgivings, I'm gonna say homegirl's family, the in-laws, and there's tension, like they're fighting. They're having like a marital beef of like timing, him being late or driving the speed limit. It's very clear that the marriage is going through some patches of roughness. And there's a daughter involved, and the daughter's like maybe 6 years old, and she's like playing with a little gadget, like a little Game Boy something. And they stop at a gas station because they need batteries. And this gas station is like the most eerie thing. It screams sketch. Like, you would not want to go here, but if you go here, definitely lay the tissue paper down on that bathroom. So he goes in, and it's basically, I mean, not even hinted, it's pretty clear that homeboy is suffering from like some alcoholic issues, probably a recovering alcoholic. And then he goes, buys the batteries, but instead of buying the batteries, because it's a cash only place. I'm terrible at this. My God, I'm bad at this. He's like buying batteries and like little alcohol bottles and like a coffee. And he proceeds to take out his plastic, but the lady is like, honey, cash only up in this hoe. So he can only afford, I'm gonna assume because it's never said, the 2 little alcohol bottles and the coffee, because he leaves the batteries, which is what they went in for. And then he goes back outside, and then something happens, something spilled. I don't know, you guys tell me. This is a group thing. And then he has to clean the back seat where his daughter's sitting. So his daughter has to be kind of like taken out of the car, and the mom, I think, went to the bathroom. Hopefully she laid the tissue paper down. And then the daughter bought something, I think a balloon, and she starts walking towards a balloon that says get well soon. This is where things get real trippy real quick. There's a dog, and this dog doesn't look very friendly. You do not pet this dog. You don't even go near this dog. This dog is one foaming mouth away from Rabbit the house. Like if Mike Tyson was a dog, this would be the dog, minus the ink on the face. There's a open wide pit, abandoned construction site, because it's a concrete pit and there's metal bars on the floor. Put a pin in that. I think it's snowing. The dog proceeds to kind of like walk towards her. This is why it's so eerie and like why we can't trust the dog. The dog isn't barking. And I think that's the most terrifying thing in life, other than like sharks and being late on your taxes. Also your period. But when dogs don't bark, I think that's how you know, don't mess with this dog. The dog wasn't barking, it just looked very eerie, and it was like kind of walking towards her. So the little girl was walking back. She didn't know where she was walking, but she was walking back towards the pit of death. So the dog is approaching, she's backing up. The dad finally realizes what's going on and sees the dog approaching the daughter, and the daughter falling behind into a pit because he could see the pit. So he proceeds to be like, don't move. I forgot her name. Perry, like periwinkle, something like that. So he's like, don't move. He's gonna throw the rock and scare the dog, which is what he does. But the plan doesn't necessarily go in his favor, because when he throws the rock, the dog scatters, which scares the girl, and the girl ends up falling back. Perry fell in the pit. Perry's in the pit now. The pit. I was in the pit. Perry's now in the pit, but he also falls in the pit. at the pit. So they're all in the pit now. He's super disoriented, but he's kind of waking up because he also fell in the pit. Now the mom is running down. She's like crazy. She just finds her daughter at the bottom of a cement pit where there's metal bars. And then the man is like waking up and seeing her freak out, and like he's very, very, very disoriented, but he's slowly coming to. And as he's coming to, he realizes, oof, thank God the little girl missed the metal bar. She did hit herself, so she's probably concussed. And then the mom is bringing her back to consciousness. So they all kind of come back into consciousness. At this point, we all kind of breathe a sigh of relief. Stay with me, because this one's about to get good. I think they realized that she broke her arm, but also she can be concussed. I mean, it was a cement like pit. He gathers his wits about him. They drive to the nearest hospital. They go into the hospital and he walks to the front desk and signs in. The wife at this point is like in his face to be like, she needs to be seen now. She's in a lot of pain. She broke her arm. She could possibly be concussed. Get us to a doctor now. This whole time you're kind of seeing things through his perspective, but it's very apparent that the way that the director decided to take you through this movie is through the eyes of somebody who is concussed as well, because you feel like you're on an edible when you're watching this movie. You feel like you're on a trip. The way it's shot, the way it's moved, the way it pans, the way it's scored, everything about this movie is so eerie. But it puts you in the shoes and in the perspective of the guy. I forget what his name is. He looks like a Wahlberg, but not really. Does that make sense? He's just got one of those faces, but also like not one of those faces. Terrific actor, terrific actor. Moving along, he gets them seen finally. Periwinkle, her mom, they all get taken back and they get seen. The doctor sees her immediate and is like, hey, it definitely looks like your arm is hurt, but then he pulls the parents away and is like, hey, if you guys say that she fell from this height into this, let's just make sure she's not concussed and something isn't terribly wrong, because we might not see it, but this could cause a seizure later on. And as a family, they're like, totes. Convinced. Do what you need. You're the doctor here, sir. Come to the agreement that, hey, we're gonna go take little Perry to go get pushed through the thing. The CAT scan thing. They go there. It's trippy because a lot of things are happening. He sees 2 dead bodies get pulled in, or just 2 bodies. Honestly, I can't tell if they're dead or not. And then he's told when they're like wheeling the little girl, there was just an accident, a head-on collision. A drunk driver was involved. I don't know. Little things are pointed out, which to me, when little things are pointed out like that, so obvious in movies, it's because of a reason. Directors, writers, all that, they're smart. Anyways, they go to the elevator. They say their goodbyes because only one person can go into the CAT scan with her, and they say, hey, it has to be you. It has to be the moms. So the moms and the daughters in the wheelchairs get taken to the elevator, and he can see that they go to the lower level. Like, it's clearly shown and clearly labeled lower level. They go pew in the elevator. But not before one of the doctor's assistants hands Lil Perry a bear. And the bear is a gift for being like the best patient of the day. It's like a cute little teddy bear. It's a real adorable moment. Put a pin in that because we will come back to this. Also, she's wearing a scarf, a yellow one. Put a pin in that because we will come back to this. I am terrible at this. And Marky Mark, but not Marky Mark, goes back and sits down in the waiting room. He wakes up and comes to and realizes, yo, like hella time has passed. Where's my child? And like, where's Bay at? And then he goes to the front desk, and this is where things start getting so weird. Turns out he never signed in, or he did. Again, I'm skipping so much, but I really don't remember so much of this movie because usually like I film these right after I watch the movie. I watched this movie like 3 days ago, so things are gonna get missed, but I'm giving you the gist and all the details you need, so don't come at me. It's being revealed that he never brought in his family and he never signed in. The receptionist that helped him before isn't there anymore. The doctor that helped him before isn't there anymore. And you know who else isn't there anymore? His wife and kid. And he's freaking out because he starts feeling like something is really wrong. Why are they missing? This shouldn't have taken long. They said it could have taken a long time, but hours have passed. There's no way this should be taking this long. He gets pulled back. At this point, he gets cops involved and he tells them something's wrong. My family isn't here anymore, and if they are, I have a feeling they're being kept against their will. The doctors get real eerie. Security gets real eerie. Everybody is looking so guilty at this point. Nobody looks innocent. Everything looks so sketch. The doctor that's there tells them the doctor that helped you isn't here anymore, but we're gonna call him in. Once he gets called in, the cops are there at this point, and he's telling the cops, my kid was here, my wife was here, please help me. And yet the doctor comes back and tells him, hey, yeah, I remember you, but I treated you and you were the only person I treated. You never came in with your wife and kid. What? At this point, all of this looks sketch. The hospital. So much so that the psychiatric department head, like a therapist, a psychologist, gets involved, because once the doctor tells him, I only treated you, you never brought in your wife and kid, he loses it. And so he doesn't get arrested. The psychologist gets involved and she tells him, hey, I want to help you because I hear you, I hear the angst in your voice, and I want to help you. So she pulls him into her office because the doctors say when he first came in, he wasn't asking about Joanne, who is his bae now. No, homeboy was talking about Abby. Who's Abby, you might be asking? Abby's the ex-wife who died in a car accident that we later realize he was at fault with because he was driving under the influence of the alcohols. So a lot of stuff starts getting pieced together, yet so many things start getting even more confusing. There's Perry's, there's Joanne's, and now there's Abby's. And the psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever the PhD may be, finally decides, let's go back to where you say the accident happened. Because I believe you, but I feel like this is gonna solve the missing piece of the puzzle. They drive back to this gas station, again, eerie. And if you guys thought it was eerie in the daytimes, it gets even creepier at night. They drive back. He takes the cops with him to the bottom of the pit. They get a dog involved. And here's where it gets more confusing. You guys remember the yellow scarf? He finds the yellow scarf in the emergency room under a bed where he was possibly treated, or Perry was treated. They have the canine smell the scarf, and the canine starts sniffing around in the pit, and he finds something. And guess what it is? It's a puddle of blood. Like a big one. And things start turning quick because he told them there was a dog. I threw a rock to scare the dog. I had to save my kid. Things happened so fast, and they did. In his defense, and Marky Mark, but not Marky Mark's defense, he was right. Everything happened so fast. But once they find the blood, it's now a crime scene and they put him under arrest. While they're putting the handcuffs on him and reading him his rights, he spots the dog that he was talking about. So he kind of, John Cena's out of it, and then he somehow gets the therapist in a hold lock, in a thing. This is a gun now. He threatens like, hey, don't come at me because I will do something stupid to this one over here, the psychologist. Somehow he escapes and he's like, everybody's in on it. Now the psychologist is in on it. Nobody's gonna believe me. Something's happening. I know this looks sketch. I don't know why there's blood there, but something is wrong with my wife and my kid. He drives all the way back to the hospital by himself, and he ends up sneaking into the elevator because when they took him to go check the records of the CAT scan, they took him to the 3rd floor. Remember in the beginning when I told you Marky Mark, but not Marky Mark, saw that it was going towards the lower level, not the 3rd floor, but the doctor was like, I don't know what to tell you, fam. Our CAT scan machine is on the 3rd floor. But he was like, no, bitch, no, okay? If it was on the NF 3rd floor, why are you taking my wife and kid to the lower level? Because that's where I saw you taking her in the first place. Sir, am I wrong? Am I wrong, doctor? All that happened. So now his whole goal is to get to the lower level of the hospital where he saw the doctors take his wife and daughter to really figure out what's going wrong. I don't know why I did this. I don't. He goes down there, but first he has to find the security guard, which the security guard, if anything, he made himself look so sketchy. To get to the lower level, you have to use a key. So he kills the janitor. Spoils alert, he shoots him. It's not security, not the janitor. Although he could have cleaned up once in a while. We don't know that. He might have been a really big helper. But he gets the key and then he goes to the lower level. The first thing he sees is somebody carting medical hazard boxes that say human organs. And then when he walks past a trash can down in the lower level, because he's there already, he sees the bear that was giving to sweet old baby Angel Periwinkle that said that she was like the best patient of the day. He finds the teddy bear and he starts realizing they're harvesting my kid and possibly my wife for their organs. And this is very implied because in the beginning of the movie, when they're talking to their insurance adjusters, they ask if she, Periwinkle, is an organ donor. And he says, no. And the insurance lady disagrees and is like, can I convince you to turn her into an organ donor? And he's like, nah, fam, we're not about that life. And guess who he spots coming out of the lower level, dressed in smocks, not in her insurance lady outfit, in like nurse doctor attire. Smocks, I don't know what they're called. Smacks? Smocks? Scrubs! So she's wearing smugs and she's walking around the lower level, which we now see is the lower level of death and illegal organ getting. So he walks past this room where he sees 2 covered bodies and he freaks out because there's 2 bodies, and 2 is also the number that his daughter and wife make up, because they're also, it's 2 people. He obviously like nervously opens the sheet to find that it's just a guy, but it's a guy that's fully harvested and you see everything. This movie is very graphic, but also you see nothing because there's nothing in Homeboy's body anymore. The organs are out, and he walks past an operating room where he sees that his daughter is being operated on and his wife is just there all drugged up, having the trip of her life probably, and then he busts in all Superman style and is like punch, 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 hit, 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 gun, gas, boom, explosion. He does get his wife and his daughter out in a wheelchair and he escapes the hospital. I don't know how he does it. I mean, there's a whole sequence about it, but I just forgot it. But he gets them out, he puts them safely in his car, and he starts to drive away. And at this point, you're like relieved, but you're also like, what the fuck? It makes you like really think about what is actually happening in hospitals and like what is happening beneath your feet, because again, this is all in the lower level. While you're breathing this sigh of relief, he starts singing a song in the car and he is sitting watching the road in front of him, but also looking in his rearview mirror because his wife and his daughter are in the rearview mirror. But then it turns back to his eyes, and then it turns back to the rearview mirror, and then you see nothing. But the camera pans, and in the backseat, you no longer see the wife. You see a suffering, dying boy's body. Nothing on but his tidy whities dying, or he could have been dead. Honestly, I don't remember. And this is where the movie completely shifts on you, because it goes all the way back. It does a rewind, and you see that when he actually fell in the concrete pit, he didn't catch his daughter in time. He didn't soften her blow. She did fall head first. She did start bleeding. She died instantly. And when he was coming to and he saw his wife frantically crying and trying to get him to pay attention to the situation and pull him out of his own shock, he then smacks his wife so hard. Y'all remember the metal bars sticking out that I told you about? Wow. He pushes her so hard that she falls and slams her head into one of those metal poles. So turns out they were dead the whole time. He was hallucinating the whole time. He did walk into the hospital, but he did walk in alone, and he only was seen for his head trauma. Nothing else. Nobody else was brought in because his wife and his daughter were dead, and he put them in the back of his truck and they were with him the entire time, dead in the truck. And everything that we saw, the organ donation, the sketch bodies, all of that was just a manifestation and an illusion that he made himself see. And all of this is kind of being scored by the psychologist's voice when she was telling him that sometimes in traumatic situations, the mind goes through these extreme measures to give you an idea of what you want to see, not what the actual reality is. He actually did kill his wife. Periwinkle did actually die, and he is just singing a song to a boy who is dying in the back of his car, who he kidnapped from the hospital thinking it was his wife and child. And that's Fractured for you. I hope you enjoyed that one, Morgan. This one is dedicated to you. I love the movie. I love the twist. Although I do have so many questions, but I'll just give you a call about that one and then we can discuss. But all in all, it's a good movie. And it's on Netflix.